One day, when I returned home with my husband to the house we lived in together, his sister and niece were there. I was surprised to see the two whom I rarely interacted with. My husband then said, "I will be supporting these two from today." Disregarding all of my he arrogantly declared to me, "I'm the head of this household, so you better listen to me." It seemed my husband was underestimating that I would not divorce him. However, having completely lost my affection, I promptly handed him divorce papers. One day, my husband suddenly brought his sister and niece to live with us. He demanded that I should take care of them as his wife, resulting in our divorce. I am an office worker who's 33 years old this year. I've been married to my current husband for 3 years, and we still don't have any children. Actually, this is my second marriage. My first marriage was when I was 20 years old, but that marriage only lasted a year. My ex-husband was a philanderer, and that's why we divorced. Mika, you're divorced once before. Well, that's not uncommon these days. But getting married for the first time at 20 is quite early, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. These days, many people get married after crossing 30. Was there any particular reason you wanted to get married so early? When I was little, I lost my parents in an accident and have been raised in a foster home ever since. I hardly have any memories of my parents, and I don't have any other relatives or siblings to rely on. So I've always longed for my own family. Maybe that's why I had such a strong desire to get married. Right after high school, I started working and left the facility, feeling lonely on my own, which might also be one of the reasons. Anyway, I wanted to get married and start a family early on. So my first marriage, I was quite assertive about it. But rushing into marriage was a mistake. My ex-husband quickly grew tired of married life and cheated, and I was constantly picking fights, venting my frustrations. By the time we divorced, I was completely exhausted, mentally and physically. Oh, becoming family with someone else is so tough. I realized that. At the tender age of 21. So since then, I completely lost my desire to get married. But then 3 years ago, I decided to marry again. It was when I met my current husband. Until then, I was absorbed in my work and hobbies, and there was no talk of relationships at all. A friend who was worried about me introduced me to my husband, and our relationship progressed smoothly. My husband is just really kind. He understands that I lost my parents early and grew up in a facility, and that I was previously married and divorced due to my ex-husband's infidelity. Do you think that's a bit sad? Is that a problem? Regarding my past, Mika, you've really worked hard all this time. Despite everything that's happened, you've endured it alone. I love that strong side of you, Mika, but from now on, I'll protect you. That's what he said to me. He was very enthusiastic about marrying me. Yeah, I was really happy to hear those words from my husband. I felt the desire to start a family again. We decided to get married after dating for just half a year. After that, everything went smoothly. We were both working and enjoying life together, but there was something that bothered me a bit. It was regarding his relationship with his family. And since I don't have a family of my own, I found that aspect a bit challenging. Dealing with in-laws can be tough. What exactly was bothering you? Were your husband's parents mean or something? Were they subtly rude? No, I think my husband's parents are good people. At least that's what I assume. But I don't know them well enough because we don't interact much. Even when we registered our marriage, my husband handled it with just a phone call. At that time, I greeted them directly over the phone. From our conversation then, they seemed serious and nice. But since then, we really haven't had any interaction at all. My husband doesn't even go back to his parents' house for summer break or New Year. Wow, that's such a peculiar family relationship. Are you on bad terms? Are they estranged? Is your husband an only child? If so, his parents must feel lonely. It's really strange, huh? I started wondering if it's normal not to be this involved. I even asked my husband about it. I don't really like my parents. They're what you might call toxic parents. That's why I prefer not to have much to do with them. He kept saying things like that. And you know, my husband has a sister, but she seems to be just like him. She never goes back to their parents' house either. They really seem like a dysfunctional family. Are his parents that terrible? If his sister avoids them too, could it be true about toxic parents? Did you have any interaction with his sister's family? According to my husband, his father was really strict and he was constantly being unfairly scolded. He also mentioned a few years ago his parents managed his salary and he hardly had any money to spend freely. With parents this awful, I don't blame him for not wanting you involved. He said it was to protect me. That's what he told me. As for his sister's family, my husband actually gets along quite well with his sister. They used to have long phone conversations all the time. But since his sister and her husband live out of town, they hardly ever meet, so I never really got to know them. When I talked to my sister-in-law on the phone a few times, and she was always rapid-fire, talking about her dissatisfaction with her own husband, I always found it difficult to respond. It was like that. To be honest, I was a little uncomfortable. My husband says my sister-in-law had a baby 5 years ago and left my parents-in-law's house because she ran away from home, and her husband is actually 10 years younger than her. He was still a teenager when they got married. My husband said this about him.
He's a wishy-washy, unreliable guy. He doesn't have a degree, works at a low-paying company, and I wonder if he can support a wife and kids with this. That's why I worry about my sister and keep in touch with her.
My husband would say things like that. Looking back now, it seems like he was either worried about or maybe even looking down on his sister's family. Well, because of all that, my husband and I really are on our own. We've spent our days without any involvement from relatives. Even so, there weren't any issues between us, and until our 2nd year of marriage, everything was pretty normal. But because of my husband's unbelievable thoughts and actions, those normal days gradually fell apart. One day when I came home from work, there were 2 people in the house besides my husband. Huh? Who? I thought to myself. Those people turned out to be my sister-in-law and niece, whom I was meeting for the first time. Ah, Mika, welcome back. You're back late from work. I've been waiting for dinner.
Welcome back, Mika. Hurry up and make dinner. My sister and niece are starving.
Meeting my sister-in-law for the first time, who seemed unusually relaxed, and my husband, who offered no explanation, my mind was in turmoil. Moreover, there was a large amount of luggage that seemed to belong to my sister-in-law and niece, and I had a really bad feeling about it. So I called my husband into another room to ask him. Did you know your sister was coming today? I was surprised because I didn't hear anything about it.
No, I got a call from my sister this morning out of the blue, and that's when we decided. Apparently, she's divorced. That's why she left her home and has nowhere else to go. So from now on, the 4 of us will live together. I'll support my sister and niece from today. Is that okay?
Huh? Is that okay? Who decided this on their own? And why is it up to you to support them?
Because she's my family, you know? There's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, your sister is already an adult, so even if she's divorced, she can work for herself, right? Besides, isn't there child support? I don't think you have an obligation to support them.
Huh? Are you always this cold-hearted? Seriously, I'm really fed up with such cold-hearted remarks.
No, I think it's perfectly reasonable. Your sister-in-law isn't a helpless child.
Ugh, this is why you... Maybe you just don't understand family love. You have a heart of stone.
What's going on? Isn't your husband becoming aggressive? Was he always the type to push his opinions forcefully? He seems to have changed quite a bit. I thought he understood Mika's situation, but... Did you realize after all? You noticed, right? Yeah, my husband has changed. He was really kind at first. He accepted me, even though I have no parents and I'm divorced. But he changed over the past half year. It started gradually after I began to out-earn him completely due to my steady career advancement. He graduated from college and started working, so initially he earned more than me, even though I've been working longer than him since high school. Moreover, he holds a higher position than me. I'm just a regular employee. He used to say things like,
Mika, you're working so hard even though you only graduated from high school. Your hard work will surely be recognized someday.
But after we got married and I started achieving more at work, he began to make subtle, sarcastic remarks.
Mika, don't get so enthusiastic about your work. I think it's not good for a woman to work so aggressively.
And then,
don't get all excited and overshadow college graduates. You should know your place.
That's how it went. It seemed like my husband didn't like my promotion. Ah, is Jim feeling pressured by the capable Mika? Or maybe jealousy? It seems like Jim actually looked down on Mika. He can't accept Mika getting ahead of him. That's right, I thought so too. My husband actually looked down on me as a pitiful woman and thought, isn't it wonderful that I married such a pitiful woman? Maybe he was thinking something like that. Perhaps he felt a sense of superiority from marrying a loser like me in life. But I didn't let my husband's petulant words get the better of me, and I steadily worked my way up the ladder. And finally, my salary surpassed my husband's. Lately, my husband has been checking my salary with keen interest, so I even hid my payslips. It's his obsession, you know, and he found out. And since then, my husband has become incredibly cold towards me. Up until now, we shared household chores because we both worked, but somehow he started pushing most of them onto me, even when I expressed my dissatisfaction about it.
You're just focused on work. Don't you think about supporting your husband? Mika, usually wives support their husbands, you know? Maybe you just don't understand family dynamics. Maybe that's why your first marriage failed.
I started receiving snide remarks about 100 times worse. That comeback really hit me hard. Even though I've advanced in my career, I never thought of it as winning against my husband. Actually, I thought he'd be happy for me. But because my husband suddenly turned cold towards me, I've recently started thinking about divorcing him. Still, I wanted to avoid divorce if possible, hoping that maybe if we talked things through, we'd understand each other. I spent restless days hoping for that. Honestly, I was hesitant about going through a second divorce. That's when my sister-in-law showed up. My husband used the fact that I don't have any family to weaponize against me and hurt me deeply.
Look, I don't think you, Mika, understand this, but family is about helping each other, especially in times of need. Right now, my sister is really struggling with her divorce from her ex-husband. That's why I need to help her out. That's just how it is, you know, family ties.
Jim was lecturing me like he knew best, but it didn't affect me at all. He just wants to feel superior to me. I already knew his intentions. And while I was feeling so overwhelmed, my sister-in-law was sprawled out on the couch, munching on snacks and tapping away at her phone. She didn't even seem to notice my niece jumping around the room, and she just seemed to be doing whatever she wanted. My sister-in-law doesn't seem to be at all overwhelmed. What was the cause of the divorce in the first place?
You might not see it, but she should be struggling. The cause of the divorce? It's because of that unreliable husband, isn't it?
You don't even know the reason for the divorce? Anyway, why don't you consult your parents? Don't make such important decisions solely on your own judgment. How about discussing it with all the important members of your family?
I told you my parents are toxic, so I have to handle my sister's situation somehow. Anyway, helping out a sister in need is something that's normal for family, or rather, for any decent person. Since you're also part of my family, you should cooperate in supporting my sister. Once you get that, hurry up and make dinner. My sister and niece are hungry.
So both you and your sister-in-law are adults now, so if you're hungry, why don't you figure it out yourselves? Why do you have to wait until I finish my work, and then order me to make it?
Oh, shut up. That's your duty as a wife, isn't it? You're just using work as an excuse to avoid it. What's the big deal about a little promotion? Do you think you've won against me because of that?
I don't think the promotion has anything to do with this. Anyway, this whole thing is a little too selfish.
It's not too selfish. I'm the head of this household. So what I say goes absolutely. Got it? Since my sister is here too, don't embarrass me. Fulfill your duties as a wife. Otherwise, it's divorce. I want you to leave right now.
My husband said that like he had made a point again, with that smug face. He seemed to think I would back down if he mentioned divorce, thinking I'd do whatever he said. He seemed to have seen through my feelings that I didn't want a second divorce. But with this husband's arrogant attitude, my mind was already made up, so I told him that. I understand. Let's get divorced. Fine. I'll leave then. I'll get things ready right away. Then my husband looked stunned, like he had pie thrown on his face.
Huh? Divorce? Is that okay? Divorce?
He said in a silly voice. There's no mistake about the divorce. I'll go get divorce papers from the city office tomorrow.
Huh? Can we really get divorced? You'll be divorced twice, you know. Aren't you embarrassed?
Not at all. I'm totally fine with it. It's my decision.
Well, what will society say? And besides, if you divorce me, you'll be alone again, right? After all, I made you part of my family when you were all alone. You'll be alone again. Is that really okay? You should reconsider.
I made you part of my family? Huh? How much did he look down on you, Mika? That shameless sister-in-law and husband are awful. If you stay with this family, you'll definitely struggle. Yeah, I understand my husband's thoughts very well now, so I've decided to quit the family for good and get a divorce. So despite my husband nagging about it afterwards, I hurried along with packing and moving out. And then I told my husband, what society thinks doesn't matter. This is a decision for my own happiness. Besides, being alone is fine by me. Being all alone in the world is no big deal. I have work colleagues and friends. That's enough for me. I don't need such a worthless family. With that declaration, I left promptly. My husband kept ranting, but I ignored him. After that, I went to a friend's house and explained the situation, and they agreed to let me stay for a while. I also took a couple days off from work to find a new place and handle the divorce procedures. Then, the next evening, I received a call from my husband, who sounded like he was on the verge of tears.
Mika, won't you come back? And could you take care of our niece? It's really tough right now.
Why? What about my sister-in-law?
Well, you see, when I woke up this morning, my sister wasn't there. There was just a note saying, please take care of our niece. She's only 5 years old, so she can't stay home alone. My sister hasn't come back at all, so now I've had to take time off work to take care of her. I have no idea how to handle kids. Right now she's crying and saying she's hungry, asking for something to eat. I'm at my wit's end. What should I do?
Listening to this, I became certain. The cause of the divorce must be my sister-in-law, because she suddenly dumped the care of her niece on my husband, who had no previous relationship with her niece whatsoever, and then disappeared somewhere. Whether she went out to play or ran away, I don't know the details, but either way it's terrible. He asked me what he should do. She's your niece, after all.
We're family, you need to do something about it. Mika, how can you be so cold-hearted? Do you have no compassion?
Well, as you pointed out, I don't have a family.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mika, I said something terrible. I apologize. Can you please help me?
No way, no way. I'm not family with you anymore, so it's none of my business. Saying that, I promptly hung up the phone on my husband. Then I immediately made a call to someone. Because my little niece is innocent, I acted only to protect her. As for what happened next, I left it all up to those people. That sister-in-law is a real piece of work. If Mika had stayed at home, she would have ended up taking care of that niece, huh? Whom did Mika seek help from? Her in-laws? The niece's father? I contacted both of them. Both the in-laws and my sister-in-law's husband, since they're all family to my niece. I explained the situation and also gave them my husband's address. After that, it seems both the in-laws and my sister-in-law's husband rushed over right away, and they seemed to have comforted the crying niece with delicious food. Actually, my husband and sister-in-law used to be notorious troublemakers in the neighborhood when they were younger. Apparently, their father used to scold them harshly whenever they did something wrong, not because he was a toxic parent, but because he was trying to correct their behavior as normal parents do. And it turns out that the reason the in-laws managed my husband's salary was because he had borrowed money from shady places. They were just making sure he repaid it properly. Despite this, my husband and sister-in-law left home, complaining about my in-laws being annoying and such, and didn't even disclose where they were living. I learned these facts when the in-laws came to apologize after the divorce. Later, when everyone, including the in-laws and my sister-in-law's husband, gathered at home, my sister-in-law returned home. Apparently, she had been out with someone dressed up with heavy makeup. The cause of the divorce revealed there was indeed my sister-in-law. It turns out it was because of my sister-in-law's affair. Apparently, her husband was planning to seek custody, and he had been proceeding with various procedures, but my sister-in-law took my niece and hid with my husband without permission. If she could live with my husband, she could receive allowances and child support. I think that's what she was counting on. That's awful. I feel sorry for the child. Was your husband really intending to shelter such an outrageous person? Supporting a troubled family, isn't that wonderful? Was he just trying to assert dominance over you, Mika, because he lost in terms of income? Yeah, that's right. Certainly, since my husband felt inferior in terms of income to me, maybe he wanted to assert superiority in other ways. I always thought that marriage meant equality between husband and wife, but it seems there are people who always want to stand above their wives. Well, I don't think everyone is that awful. I guess I was just too naive in my judgment of men. I guess I brought it on myself to end up divorced twice. But oh well, I can live happily alone. After that, I filed for divorce through a lawyer with my husband. I couldn't claim any compensation, but I felt refreshed after the divorce. Now I can focus wholeheartedly on my work. And then my husband and sister-in-law was severely scolded by my in-laws, and it seems my sister-in-law was taken back to her parents' house. Because she was demanded compensation for her affair, my in-laws supervised her and helped her repay it. And my sister-in-law's husband took custody of the niece. My sister-in-law's husband really stepped up. He's only 25 years old. I'm sure he worked hard for the sake of the child. It seems he's doing well in his job and has a stable income too. Most importantly, my husband's niece looked so relieved to see her dad. In the future, my in-laws also said they would support him while raising my niece alone. I see, I'm glad for the niece. Your sister-in-law's husband is still young but impressive. It's just those two, your husband and sister-in-law, who are hopeless. Will those two ever reform? Yeah, that's right, reform. I wonder if that'll happen. Hopefully this time it will wake them up. Oh, this is a follow-up story, by the way. Let me report it. My husband and I met through a friend, and I explained the circumstances of this divorce to the friend who introduced us. And then that friend apparently spread it around to everyone. It seems like they're saying this and that about it, and that gossip even reached my husband's workplace. My husband is being looked at with disapproval there too, and it seems he feels quite uncomfortable. Oh, Mika's friend, you spoke out for her. You must have been angry that your important friend Mika was hurt. This is a great punishment for her husband, who pretended to be a nice guy. But I think he'll reflect on this a lot. That's right. If he reflects on this, maybe my being twice divorced will have been worth it. It would be good if my husband understands that looking down on others is not a good thing. I'm fed up with marriage already, but I have work and friends. So this isn't loneliness, right? That's why I will continue to live strong from now on. Thank you all for listening. Mika's husband lectured her on the meaning of family, despite her having none. It seems he tried to gain the upper hand in Mika matters and dominate Mika. However, Mika had a job and trusted friends. She already knew that family wasn't everything. So Mika decisively left her husband, who constantly belittled her. Mika's future looks bright and positive now. Despite how tough life may seem from the outside, those living it should take pride in themselves. Happiness isn't the same for everyone. Each person's life and happiness are unique.